IB trauma/hate is overrated. I see this all the time where people run around everywhere complaining about how hard the IB is, how difficult, how little sleep I get. All these people are acting like a bunch of losers. And if that's you, stop it. All right, I want to start off by saying that this is not advice video. This is not any of that type of stuff. This is just the perspective of a guy who's been working with students now for the past 6 years. I got a perfect 45 in the IB diploma, and I hear this stuff all the times, and it drives me absolutely insane. This is why the IB is actually much easier than you think. And if you think it's hard right now, that's okay. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can reverse that thinking, what you can start doing right now, and then how you can build that path to get that perfect 45 in the IB diploma. At first, he didn't have it easy, but in the end, Bjorn prevailed. The IB really was an experience for him to stand his ground. He fought for his grades, carefully chose out his classes and teachers, and worked on a strict schedule to balance out school and personal life. In the end, not only does he get the perfect 45 score with the IB diploma, but he also overachieves his extracurriculars and get into his top university. However, if you don't have the right set of skills, it's pretty clear to me why the IB journey can be difficult, because it'll crush you and it'll tear you to pieces if you don't have those strong study skills. The reason why Bjorn was able to achieve that goal was because Bjorn was tough. He was tougher than the IB itself. He's tougher than the rumors going around the IB being overrated. And because of that mindset shift, he took different action, not only survived, but excelled in the IB diploma. All right, so this is why the IB is more difficult than you might think. Number one, you want to ask yourself, what does your daily routine look like? This is the biggest misconception I see within students, okay? Most students think that they spend all of their time studying. However, it's not the amount of time that you spend studying that determines your success, your results, the amount of stress that you feel, but instead what you actually put into that time. A lot of the students I see who are overwhelmed, stressed, who apparently spend all of their time studying are doing one of two things incorrectly. The first of which is that they're spending all of their time studying not in a state of flow. They're not single tasking, as I like to call it, right? They're working on multiple different things. They're either bouncing between distractions, they're getting distracted, they're jumping from this to the other. They spend 30 minutes on social media and then 15 minutes studying and then another 45 minutes on TikTok. They're constantly jumping between tasks, juggling many priorities, and because of that, they're never able to focus their attention or reach a state of flow in the work that they're doing. In Grizzly Elite, we like to call these things sprints, which are essentially a period of time in which you're single tasking. All of your attention is on one thing, on achieving one work-related goal. And then you do that in a state of flow, meaning that you have this bubble of silence where nothing can distract you, nothing can pull you away. All of your attention is directed on one task, and because of that, you get significantly more done. Now, I understand that most students can't do that. Most students just find it difficult to focus in on one thing, much less reach a state of flow. So what I did was I trained myself every single day to build those mindfulness habits. All right. And the thing about mindfulness is that basically practice for your brain to reach states of focus in any part of my life. So when I was on the bus ride from school, for example, when during a break or when I was finishing with some practice questions, I would practice mindfulness, right? I would look out the bus and just look at the window and just see the houses, see the road, be completely present in the moment, right? Mindfulness is not necessarily meditation. Meditation is a form of mindfulness. That's not the full picture though. Mindfulness is just being completely present in the situation right now. In fact, you can be mindful right now, meaning you're completely listening, utterly absorbed in the video, taking in these concepts. You're not thinking about something else. You're not thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. You're not thinking about your assignment. You're just single tasking, focusing on one thing. And the thing about mindfulness that is so powerful is that it basically trains that ability to focus, right? You can think of focus, the ability to single task, as a muscle that must be trained. Every single rep you do, every single weight you lift, similar to going to the gym, makes that figurative muscle stronger. All right, so the reason why most people find the IB difficult is because they can't reach states of single task flow when they're studying. If you're having trouble with this, I very strongly suggest you get a piece of paper, and every single time you get distracted, write out what your distractions are, and then systematically go through, eliminate those distractions. And then once you have zero distractions, you want to slowly build up the amount of time that you spend in a state of focus, right? And then eventually that'll translate into a state of flow. So give yourself, let's say 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and then slowly build that up until you're able to sustain for like an hour and a half, just states of flow nonstop. If you find that challenging still, look into mindfulness, do that consistently. There's a very good book actually that got me into the entire mindfulness routine, and it's called Mindfulness in Plain English. So definitely check that one out if you want some more context with that. Long story short, you practice that consistently and that'll build your ability to stay focused. So that's number one, reaching states of flow. And then the number two reason why I see students struggle with the IB, think it's difficult, and the rest of it is because they spend all of their time doing low value tasks. This is where the student does not do active recall with studying. Instead, they do some sort of passive method, right? Such as reading their notes or reading the textbook. That is not a good use of your time. That is a low value task. Instead of reading the textbook, sit down, do as many past paper questions as possible, teach the content to someone else if you'd like. Those are both forms of active recall, and that's exactly how you make the most out of your study time. Even students who are able to focus without distractions and reach states of flow, if they spend all their time doing something that doesn't matter how focused you are, because you're going to be wasting all your time, right? Peter Drucker had the quote that nothing's less useful than doing efficiently that which should not be done at all, right? Nothing's less useful than being productive at the things that we shouldn't even be productive about. So if you're currently spending your study time reading your notes, eliminate that right now. And really the way I want you to think about it is that studying does not begin until you do a past paper question. It hasn't started. For all intents and purposes, because it has not started. So any time you did leading up to that is marginal at best. Marginal. It's basically nothing compared to the amount of progress you'll make when you sit down and you start doing past paper questions. So you want to remove that time and jump into past paper questions as fast as possible, right? ASAP. So we talked about the two things that hinder your ability to create an effective routine. If you just look at my own case, when I got a perfect 45 in high school, I would basically spend 3 to 4 hours every single day studying, if that, okay? I didn't spend that much time studying. The way it normally worked is that I would spend maybe like an hour to an hour and a half in the bus in the morning, and then another hour to an hour and a half in the bus in the evening, and then an hour or so when I got back home. So by the time 6 o'clock rang in the evening, I was done. I was done with studying for the day. And I could spend the rest of the night working on some extracurriculars, spending time with my friends and family. I did not need to study anymore. And if you understand that the human brain, the untrained, without mindfulness, the human brain untrained can really only take up to 3 to 4 hours of just productive, high quality states of flow. First of all, when you start to do more, you slowly get diminishing returns. Okay, you can actually extend that with proper mindfulness practice, as I've done in my own life. But for the IB, especially if you want to get a perfect score, like, you don't really need to spend much more time apart from the 4 hours every single day, right? Remember that the IB can be thought of as a marathon. It's that consistency that builds the strong character. That's why during the exam week, I didn't pull any all-nighters. I slept normal. I went to the gym every single day. My routine was the exact same in the final exam week as it was in the first week of school. It was because by building those habits of 4 hours every single day, was I able to reap the rewards at the end when everybody else was panicking. All right, and it was actually John Maxwell who said that the secret of your success is found in your daily routine, because those are the habits that you repeat for a prolonged period of time, right? Success is not made in one day. Success is the continuation of action points repeated consistently day in and day out, especially academic success. All the academic success I've had in the past in my entire life, as well as my extracurriculars, was by doing the exact same thing every single day. And it gets tedious. That's the point. That's why most people aren't successful, because they can't withstand that tedious nature of success, of reaching those states of perfection with the IB diploma, of doing the question over and over and over and over and over again just to get it just right, just perfect, having done it so many times, right? So what I suggest, stay consistent with that habit, stay consistent with the active recall habit. You don't really need to do much more than 4 hours a day. Do that over a prolonged period of time, and you'll be much closer to getting that perfect 45. All right, and then number 2 is to be very careful who you surround yourself with. You need to understand that you need to be very careful who you're close friends with. If you're close friends with slackers, with people who don't care, with people who screw around in the IB, don't do anything with their life, aren't looking at university, you're going to, whether you realize it or not, subconsciously create a mental model of the world that closely reflects how they think. That's just how our brains work, right? Our brains, again, this is very oversimplified, but our brains essentially take in all the information that we see and create a mental model. So if the only information we're taking in is from low value people who don't really care about anything, our brain has no other option than to create a worldview from that perspective, right? That's the only thing they see as real. All right, in my own life in university, there's not a single friend I have. There's not one friend that I don't admire in at least one attribute. I don't have a friend that I don't admire in one way or another. And you got to remember that when it comes to choosing friends wisely, it's not about how many friends you have, but instead how much time do you spend with each friend. Because if you spend disproportionately more time with loser friends compared to your winner friends, you're going to more likely to be a loser, right? That's just how it works. So if you spend more time with the low value people that'll drag you down, obviously you're going to develop a stronger worldview oriented towards that low value loser frame of mind. And I actually believe it was Franklin D. Roosevelt who said that one of the biggest hacks possible is just getting good friends. And I could not agree with him more. So just be very careful about that. A lot of the students I work with who just complain so much about the IB, it's because all their friends are also complaining about the IB, and all their friends are also overstressed. So either number 1, send them this video and help them elevate everybody up, or number 2, if that doesn't work, simply pivot away, spend less time with them slowly, and find yourself a new group of friends. And in high school myself, never really fitted in with any group of friends, right? Because I had the super smart friends in the IB who got very high scores, but apart from studying all day, they really didn't have much else in their life. I had the other friends that I bonded with very well over sports, over football, over skiing, over more physical activities, and they weren't getting that good score. So essentially what I did in my own life to make up for that imbalance is that I would spend a good amount of time studying with my friends that got a good score in the IB diploma, who were smart, who were quote unquote the nerds to say. And then I would spend all my time having fun, playing sports with my friends who were considered to be quote unquote the jocks, right? Who would love outdoor activities, playing football and doing sports. And then number 3 is to analyze the classes that you're taking, right? Which courses are you taking? And I want to approach this from the frame of mind that you need to understand why you're taking those courses. Okay, what is the reason why you're taking course math HL, physics HL? Why are you taking these courses? Because most students don't know. Okay, most students are just taking courses because that's what they've been told, that's what their teacher tells them, or maybe they do know and they just want to do it to get into a good university. Unfortunately, all of those are not good reasons. The reason why I took the courses I took, which were one of the most challenging ones, right? I took math HL, physics HL, economics HL, chemistry SL. The reason why I took that combination was because I knew that would give me the highest chance of getting into my dream program at the UPenn M&T program. And then I knew that if I was to get into that university, that would be the best chance I had to network with other high achieving students, right? To create that close group of friends who also wanted to achieve excellent things in their own life. And I have to say that's actually what I've been able to achieve here at the university. and as a community and a network that I can use to become my ideal version of myself, right? Which is tech entrepreneurship. That's always what I wanted to do. So by looking at that final goal, right? What does the best version of myself look like? What would that person think? How would they act? What would they be doing every single day? What would they be achieving? And then using that as a standard from which I can move backwards. That allowed me to go the IB with clarity, knowing that the courses I was taking, even if the content itself did not matter, it was a win-win situation. It was a win-win in that it built my character, meaning that I built a lot of necessary skills of hard work, discipline, study strategies, and the rest of it. Those skills I still have to this day. Like nothing can take that away from me. I still have those and I'll still have those for the rest of my life. That's number one, built those skills. And then number two, I realized that this was simply just a stepping stone towards becoming that better version of myself. And then when I framed it from that perspective, all of a sudden these difficult courses that I didn't want to do became avenues from which I can practice those skills that I knew would turn me into the best version of myself. So if you're in that situation and you can't change your courses right now, that's okay. Simply view it as fuel to become a stronger version of yourself, right? If you just look at the best version of yourself, I guarantee you that that person is probably more competent. They probably have a lot of those attributes that you can develop in the IB diploma right now. Number four, you want to analyze how you're studying. Okay, we talked about active recall versus passive recall. You also want to remember that all of your studying can be distributed out in a Pareto principle, meaning that there are certain tasks, that certain study skills, certain ways to study that are more valuable than others. And it's up to you to identify what those are in your life, which in my life has been active recall, and the evidence seems to support this pretty strongly. And then you just need to double down on that. All right, so in summary, was the IB as bad as it seems? Absolutely not. Was it as traumatic as it seems? Absolutely not. Again, that's probably because I very early on built those good habits that I would need to do to be successful. Were there hard and dark days? Yes. Okay, one of the most difficult days actually was during the IB2 when I had my math IA as well as my chemistry SL IA as well as a bunch of university essay drafts all due on like the same weekend. That was a pretty rough weekend. I just had to study and I had to work that entire weekend. People asked me if I pulled an all-nighter. I pulled 0 all-nighters for the IB. Okay, the only all-nighter I pulled was for the MNT summer course, which is a funny story. I can explain that in another day. And by the way, that was in the middle of the summer, so well before I had all these IAs and everything else to deal with. For the IB itself, I never pulled any all-nighters. You don't need to. So at the end of the day, was it traumatic? No. Was it challenging? Kind of. At some points, I found that at least the way I approached it with discipline, like my main mantra was how can I make and be as disciplined as possible throughout the entire 2-year program to get the most out of it. And by most out of it, I mean build those skills that I need to get me closer to becoming that ideal version of myself. I really approached it from that angle. And then all the challenges that came, I just saw those as opportunities to become better, to become stronger, to grow as an individual. And then on those very hard days, right at the beginning of IBDP2, I still had my normal routine. I still went to the gym. I still went outside with my dog and took walks and the rest of it and had this time. Maybe it was a little bit more stressed, sure, but I'm actually very thankful for those experiences because they built me up into a stronger individual. Now when I see stress, I know that I've been there before. A lot of people here at university that take AP don't understand the sheer quantity of coursework, especially written coursework that IB students need to take. And I think that's just a huge advantage, all right? Because then you build those skills and also your writing skills, right? Your ability to articulate. I'm slowly starting to appreciate that because I see vast array of disciplines by which I can implement my better articulation skills. That all happened, I would argue, because of forcing myself to go through that 2-year program. And with the papers and everything you got to write, by force, I genuinely mean that it forces that skill out of you. And for that, I'm rather thankful. So understand that a lot of this trauma, you can choose to believe it, or you can choose to take action like Bjorn did and then get that perfect 45 in the IB diploma. So if you have any questions at all, please let me know in the comment section down below, or you can also shoot me an email at joaquin@warden.upenn.edu. I don't respond to all emails, but I do my best to do so. So you can shoot that over. And until next time, stay grizzly. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.